This video is about the pros and cons of living in Lake Forest, California.
So stay tuned.
What's up, everybody? I'm Sean Dezahd.
And I'm Courtney Dezahd.
And we're with Keller Williams Realty, the California Homes Group, right here in Orange County, California. And we've been helping families buy and sell homes in Orange County for over 20 years. So if this is your first on the channel and you want to know everything about living, eating, sleeping, working, and playing in Orange County,
and dreaming in Orange County, don't forget to click on the subscribe button.
And click on the little bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. Honestly, we get so many calls from people looking to buy or sell a home in Orange County, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking about buying or selling a home, feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and however which way you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back.
Okay, so before we start going into the pros and cons of living in Lake Forest, California, just describe a little bit. Give a little overview. What is Lake Forest, California? Like, where is it? Give its little, 101, Lake Forest 101.
Sure. So Lake Forest is a city within Orange County, and it's just south of Irvine. It's right by the El Toro Y, and it's actually kind of a long, narrow city. So it kind of stretches from about the 5 freeway up to the 241.
And then, I would say, I kind of think of Lake Forest as, Irvine light, and a lot of people think that. And why do they think that?
Well, because basically, so the light part is, one, that it's kind of like Irvine, but not totally like Irvine. So that goes from for the schools, the prices, the location, everything is kind of like Irvine, but just a little bit more, just not quite Irvine.
Yeah, and then, okay, so why is it called, it used to be called El Toro, little fun fact.
I remember when it was called El Toro, actually.
Yes, because Sean is born and raised in Orange County.
Yes.
So why is it Lake Forest? What is are there lakes in Lake Forest?
There are 2 little lakes in Lake Forest.
Yeah, but it's not like Mission Viejo that actually has like
a pretty big lake. Yeah,
these are pretty small lakes.
And some almost feel like private lakes too.
Yeah,
so,
they are. Actually.
So yeah, so they have some lakes.
Yeah, and it's houses and condos are around these lakes.
And it's really not their claim to fame. I mean, it's part of the name, but really, the forest part is actually more, I would say, more apropos.
Yeah.
And more apt for Lake Forest, because the forest, like, they have like tons of eucalyptus groves all over Lake Forest.
Yeah, I guess, so this guy named Dwight Whiting, he planted about 400 acres of eucalyptus in Lake Forest, and so that is the forest part of Lake Forest.
Yeah, a little known fact right there.
Yes, so, yeah. And then I remember, one time he was showing homes in Lake Forest, and it reminded you of Ferris Bueller. Why?
Yes,
Why?
because, there's this scene. So obviously this is dating us a little bit, but Ferris Bueller's Day Off was this 80s movie. Amazing movie. Okay, so if you want to...
our son is like
aged,
Ferris Bueller.
Yes, and it's aged well, and I would say over time.
Yes,
Ferris Bueller's very good. So, but what was cool about, so I was showing some properties in Lake Forest, and the backyard just backed up to these eucalyptus groves, and I was going, wow, this is so cool. It's so foresty right here, and it reminded me of this scene where Cameron destroys his dad's car, where it runs outside the garage, in reverse, goes out the garage and falls into the forest. And, Ferris Bueller says, you destroyed the car.
You killed the car.
And, but just that scene, I was just getting flashbacks of Ferris Bueller's Day Off there.
Yeah, for sure. And then, another little fun fact about Lake Forest is that, in 2000, they annexed 2, newer construction areas in Orange County, so Foothill Ranch and Portola Hills. So explain a little bit about what is Foothill Ranch, what is Portola Hills?
Yeah, they're definitely more east, so more along the 241. So
that's
it's
a toll road.
Yeah, so, and the Portola Highway. So basically, you're a bit farther, getting closer to Cleveland National Forest right there.
Actually,
newer developments.
Sort of
butt right into it. Yeah. So it's just newer developments, nice developments for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now that we've given a little overview, so I would say the first pro about living in Lake Forest is it's very family oriented, similar to Irvine. You have a park on every corner. For example, 2 of our best friends live in Lake Forest, and Sean sold them their house and explained why they selected that house.
Yeah, so I was showing them properties, and they just zeroed on this one house. So mind you, at the time we did not have kids, so I didn't quite understand that kids have a lot of energy, and they need to get rid of that energy. And so they just had this house, so that I was showing this house, and it was right next to a park, and they said they wanted it. And I was going, really, this one? Because there might be other. No, we want this one. And so once we actually started visiting them at their new home, we saw their boys, they would run their boys because these are two runners. So basically, their boys had tons of energy, and I was like, oh, I get it now. And then after having kids, I really get it now.
Yeah, for sure. So similar to Irvine, Lake Forest is very family friendly. You know, they have lots of parks on every corner. You know, they have summer concerts. They have, 4th of July parade, that kind of thing. It's a very family friendly area. And then another pro is safety. Similar to Irvine, Lake Forest is known for its safety.
It's number 6, right?
Yeah, number 6. So safewise.com, they did a big study in all the cities in California where they looked at property crime and violent crime, and Lake Forest came in at number 6 in the entire state of California for the safest city in California. Okay?
Yeah.
And then, so I would say, so here's another little talking point. I would say it's a pro and a con because while Lake Forest is part of Saddleback School District, so it is not...
Saddleback Valley, right?
Saddleback Valley, yes, that's what it's called. It is not the Irvine Unified School District. So if you are trying to decide between Irvine and Lake Forest and your number one concern is you want the best schools possible.
Yeah, as far as the best ranked schools. Because it's obviously, when you're this good...
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so yes, Irvine Unified School District is obviously well, world renowned basically. It's really good. But I would definitely say that Saddleback Valley Unified School District is also really good too.
Yeah.
And really, at a certain point, it's really how the parents are working with their kids.
But I would say some of the schools are hit and miss. I mean, in reality, Saddleback is it's a good school district. You have...
And Lake Forest, within that, it has a lot of good schools.
Yeah,
but
example,
there are some hit and miss schools for sure.
Yeah, so Oxford Preparatory Academy, Saddleback Valley, this is a really popular school. They have different, satellite schools all throughout Orange County. It's very popular. That's in Lake Forest. El Toro High School is in Lake Forest. That's a really good high school. And then Tribuco Hills High School is not in Lake Forest.
Technically, it's pretty much on the border of Mission Viejo and Lake Forest. But, again, if you're actually looking at the school zones, and again, within that school district, you can kind of go to with either one. But even their own school zone has a lot of Lake Forest in there.
Yeah, one nice thing about Saddleback is that you can transfer. You have more options in terms of school of choice. Whereas Irvine, because it's so impacted, you really can't transfer. It's whatever is your assigned school, that's the one you're going to. So, yeah. And then another con of Lake Forest is the 241 because as Californians, explain
Southern Californians, we just do not like tolls.
We don't like tolls.
I know. I get it. It's more of a way of life, but there's something about being just you're driving and you just don't want to pay tolls, and those tolls can add up for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the part of Lake Forest that's close to the 5 freeway, okay, you don't have to worry about it. But as Lake Forest is kind of so narrow and long, basically. So as it reaches to the 241, it's either you're going to drive a decent ways down to get to the 5 freeway, or you're going to have to deal with the 241.
Yeah, for sure. So that's just, if you're from the East Coast or maybe other areas where they have toll roads and you're just used to it, then you might not care. But
but it's just something to be mindful of. It could be part of your monthly expenses if tolls are going to be part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And then another pro is that Lake Forest does offer some new and newer construction. There are some, housing developments that are being built there right now.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for new construction or newer construction, in Portola Hills, in Foothill Ranch, you do have that option.
Yeah, because in Orange County, again, you don't have a ton of new construction in general happening, except for a few spots. And Lake Forest is one of those where you're definitely seeing some new construction. And as far as newer construction, you definitely have Lake Forest is actually interesting because you have a decent amount that actually is pretty established, but then also you do have newer construction as you get more east, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And then another pro is that in addition to Lake Forest being right next to Irvine, so it borders Irvine, which is the business center of Orange County, so you probably have a good chance of working in Irvine if you live in Lake Forest. But in addition to that, Lake Forest actually has a ton of business parks, so there are a lot of companies that are based in Lake Forest.
For sure. Basically what you see in these business parks are these prefabricated just office structures, these commercial buildings, basically, where it's just 4 sides built and a roof, and it's the same style everywhere. So they've just built a ton of these.
Yeah. So some of the more notable companies that are there are Oakley and Panasonic Avionics, which is in-flight entertainment, Loan Depot, Invencis, which is a British engineering and technology firm. So yeah, there's some decently sized companies that are actually based
within. But realistically speaking, Lake Forest is right next to the spectrum. A lot of it. So
yes, right next to the Irvine spectrum.
So and that's where
right next. to
that's one of the major hubs of Orange County. So yeah, jobs as far as like in proximity to, really, really good.
Yeah, for sure. And then I have to give a little shout out to my sister. One pro of living in Lake Forest is that you have At Home, which is a retail company that is, all the things that you need if you're going to be buying a home. So all, furniture, paintings, that kind of stuff. My sister
And
is
they're
actually
huge, right? I mean, it's sort of like what they offer is like a ton of stuff.
Yeah, it's in Lake Forest. There aren't that many of these stores in California.
They're just expanding out because a lot of them are like in Texas or the Midwest.
In the South, yeah.
Yeah,
My
in the
sister is the senior director of holidays at Home. She works in the corporate office, so I have to give a shout out to her because if you live in Lake Forest, you can shop at Home anytime you want.
So I guess our wrapping paper would be from At Home, I guess.
Oh, for sure. My
Okay.
sister reminds me all the time. You need to buy your Christmas, wrapping paper from At Home.
Yes.
So.
I guess that's what we'll get. Really nice
Yes.
wrapping paper.
Okay, another pro of Lake Forest is that it has this really cool little sports park. So, one thing that South County is known for is sports, youth sports.
Yeah.
All of South County is known as sort of like a breeding ground for the next Olympians or the next...
And we have a video actually
Yeah.
talking about all the Olympians that have come from Orange County.
Yeah, so the Lake Forest Sports Park is a cool little park. It has, basketball courts, soccer fields. It's a great place to go to just, if you want to play some sports. So... okay, and then I would say a pro and a con of Lake Forest is that it does abut next to the Whiting Ranch Wilderness Park. So that is a pro. If you like the wilderness, that is a pro.
If you want space,
Yeah, that is a pro.
like it is a huge pro.
However, so the Whiting Ranch, it kind of is basically it's part of the Cleveland National Forest. So this is like
Pretty wild
real
stuff.
Wilderness. I mean, there are, mountain lion sightings every once in a while, and then you do have some, depending on where you are, there is fire danger. Sometimes people have to be evacuated
yeah.
from, if you're like right next to basically Whiting Ranch. So
Yeah, so it's something to be like. So yeah, if that's something of a concern for you, that's just something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then one little side pro, there is a really cool climbing gym in Lake Forest called Aesthetic Climbing Gym. So if you like, climbing gyms, it's right there. And then I would say our last pro,
Which is a pretty big pro, actually.
it's a pretty big pro of living in Lake Forest, is that the median sales price of Lake Forest is about $912,000, which when you compare that to Irvine is about $100,000 less. So
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of what you get in Irvine.
Again, that's where the Irvine light comes into play. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit lighter on the pocketbook.
Yeah, a little bit lighter on the pocketbook. So that's basically, I would say, the main reason why people live in Lake Forest.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
again, it's Lake Forest. You're getting a little bit. You get a little bit of Irvine, but you're saving too. So
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So that's it. That's our video.
But again, you've got to reach out to us to find that perfect area that you think that you maybe want to move in or want to go see. So give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back when buying or selling a home in Orange County.